All right, from our state legislature, Senator Lauren Kuby, Senator Kina Sears, Senator Priya Sundaration, Representative Seth Plattman, Representative Janelle Cavero, Representative Sarah Lagori, Representative Stephanie Semachek. From the county, we have Chairman Thomas Galvin, we have County Supervisor Kate Brophy-McGee, and County Attorney Rachel Mitchell. From the City of Phoenix, our very own Vice Mayor Ann O'Brien, Councilwoman Betty Guardado, Councilwoman Anna Hernandez, Councilwoman Keisha Hodge Washington, Councilwoman Laura Pastor, Councilman Kevin Robinson, Councilwoman Deborah Stark, my councilwoman, Councilman Jim Waring, and our city manager, the illustrious Jeff Barton. We also have mayors from around the valley: Lisa Rakowski, the mayor of Scottsdale; Mark Freeman, the mayor of Mesa; Kevin Hartke, mayor of Chandler; Alexis Hermosillo, mayor of Mirage; Eric Osborne, mayor of Buckeye; and Mark Stanton, mayor of Paradise Valley, also the president and CEO of the Scottsdale Chamber. From other councils, we have Councilwoman Julie Spilsbury from the city of Mesa. We have our board leadership here, our immediate past chair from the Greater Phoenix Chamber, Mr. Scott Smith, and our chair-elect, Stacy Durstein, is here as well. We're also honored to have members of the CAP board, Elena Aguilar, Rudy Fisher, board president Terry Goddard, and Ben Graff. Also honored to have from Maricopa Community Colleges, Dr. Stephen Gonzalez, and governing board member Linda Thor. And finally, last but not least, representing Sonora, Mexico, we have Gerardo Venezuela, who's the State of Sonora Executive Coordinator and International Liaison for Sonoran Governor Alfonso Durazo. Let's give them a round of applause. We're also proud to recognize a local artist, Eileen Martinez, who worked with the mayor's office to design the beautiful posters you see here today celebrating Phoenix's businesses and landmarks. Eileen, thank you for sharing your talent with us. For those of you in the audience, don't forget to take your poster home with you today. Now, we're going to take a small break for lunch, enjoy some lunch, and we'll be back with you in just a few minutes. Thank you. I do want to point out we have an on-time departure for my friends at Southwest here. We do consider ourselves fortunate to have such a strong partner in Southwest Airlines, and we thank them for their support, not only for our chamber, but our community and their investment that they continue to demonstrate in our region each and every year. So it is now my pleasure to introduce Steve Cisneros, Vice President, Airport Operations for Southwest Airlines, to provide some remarks. Please welcome Steve.
Hi, everyone, and thanks, Todd, for the introduction. It's great to be with you here once again, all celebrating the success of last year here in the city of Phoenix and the bright year ahead. For more than 43 years, Southwest has been part of the fabric that makes up this great community, and we never take that for granted. Much like Phoenix, a great airline is built on the power of connection, connecting people, places, and possibilities. We're doing that here at Southwest, both in the air with more than 220 flights a day, and on the ground with supporting more than 88 organizations focused on making the Valley a great place to both live and work. And I'm sure you've heard that Southwest is embarking on the biggest transformation in our history, building a new foundation for the next generation of Southwest customers. As customers' preferences change, we're changing too. Starting in the first quarter of next year, we'll begin assigning seats for the first time, including introducing extra legroom with up to 5 inches of extra space than currently available. We're also providing more choice for our customers to customize the travel experiences that they want. Some of the maintenance work to get our fleet ready for the introduction of our new cabin configuration is actually happening here down the road in our expansive maintenance facility. And a big shout out to our tech ops teams that are working day and night to bring these planes ready for safe and service to all of you. We're also providing a more rewarding experience for our A-List and A-List preferred members as well, who have the credit card, who receive additional benefits, including waiving the bag fees. Now, I'm a firm believer in our product and service and the bright future that lies ahead, especially here in Phoenix. We offer the most number of nonstop domestic flights than any other airline in the United States, and we're the market leader in more than 20 markets across the country, and we have hands down the best people and best hospitality. And I want to shout out and wave our Southwest family here at the table. So great to see you guys. Here in Phoenix, more travelers are choosing Southwest than any other airline, and we're grateful for your continued support, and we never take you for granted, so thank you. Of our more than 5,000 locally based employees, and we're focused on continuing to earn your business every day. We're proud to be part of the Phoenix community, working hand in hand with community leaders and organizations to make Phoenix not just a great place to visit, but a great place for our employees and customers to call home. Thank you very much.
Steve, thank you, and thanks to the team at Southwest Airlines. We appreciate you. We did mention a number of honored guests. We also had one more that we have here today. We have Representative Matt Gress, who's with us here today, so please welcome Representative Gress. Thank you for joining us. And now the moment we've all been waiting for. We're honored to be here as Mayor Kate Gallego shares her annual State of the City address. And if you've been to one of these before, you know that it's never a letdown, and there's always some really cool takeaways, and today is no exception. I want to personally emphasize just how much we appreciate the mayor's steadfast support of the Phoenix business community and her partnership with the Greater Phoenix Chamber as we continue to do our work to ensure that Phoenix and our entire state remains the best place to live, work, and do business in the country. Now, after the mayor's speech, we're going to do a quick Q&A and some deeper dive on some questions, so encourage you to stay in your seats once her speech ends and we transition, which will just take a minute. I think you'll enjoy that part. So for now, please direct your attention to the screen for a special welcome of our mayor. Thank you.
Phoenix is a city where anyone can come and make a difference, where everyone is welcome to start their next chapter.
Phoenix is the envy of every city in America today. This $100 billion investment will not only create thousands of jobs, it will lead to new homes and apartments being built, new schools, and new businesses.
While cities like Austin have garnered attention for drawing tech companies away from Silicon Valley, Arizona and Phoenix have been just as competitive.
Mayo Clinic is making its largest ever investment in Arizona, announcing a nearly $1.9 billion transformation of its Phoenix campus.
ASU's College of Health is moving to downtown Phoenix with a focus on improving health outcomes for all Arizonans.
I'm talking about the city of Phoenix because turns out it's putting a big, large dent in its housing crisis. Mayor Kate Gallego officially will announce the city is 5 years ahead of schedule when it comes to creating or preserving 50,000 housing units by the year 2030.
We would like to say thank you for the shade over the playground.
The city hopes to get up to a 75% shade canopy.
The Sombra Experiments in Shade is a project launched this year to help bring down the temperature at 9 parks. And as you'll see, they're not just functional, they're pretty fun.
Phoenix Fire Station 62, located just south of Tullison. Families say they already feel safer with this station here.
All the new housing they're putting up and things, and there's more people that's coming into this area, so it's definitely needed.
Phoenix, let's keep up the momentum we've created. Let's challenge one another to think better, bigger, and brighter. Most of all, let's keep looking out for each other. I used to say our best days are ahead, but our best days are here, and they are here to stay. So let's seize them.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm so grateful and moved by everyone's presence here today. Thank you, Todd, and the fantastic team at the Phoenix Chamber. I want to thank all of the staff here at the Sheraton who are making this event possible today. Thanks to City Manager Jeff Barton, the city leadership team, and every city employee, we live in one of the most cared for cities in the country. We are likewise fortunate to have peace of mind that our first responders offer us all. Let's give our city staff, our police officers, and our firefighters a big hand. I'm incredibly fortunate to serve as mayor of Phoenix, a city filled with extraordinary people on the rise, brilliant doctors and researchers, spirited small business owners, dedicated teachers and public servants, hardworking apprentices, the happiest kids, warm families. Phoenix is my home, and home wouldn't be complete without the people who make me feel whole. My dad, my son, I'm talking about you. Thank you for making every day meaningful and for pushing me to grow, not only as a mom, but as a mayor. I always enjoy preparing for this event. It demands that we look to the future and asks us to reflect on the past. I've had the honor to serve as your mayor for 6 years now, and well, we've been through a lot together. A global pandemic, a recession, then a booming recovery. And today, once again, we're living in
Good morning and welcome to the Economic Development and Housing meeting for Wednesday, May 28th, 2025. I'd like to call the meeting to order and turn to our city attorneys to explain public comment.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, citizen comment. During citizen comment, members of the public may address the subcommittee for up to 3 minutes on issues of interest or concern to them. The Arizona open meeting law permits the subcommittee members to listen to the comments, but prohibits members from discussing or acting on matters presented. And if I might add, comments for agenda items, members of the public may speak up to 2 minutes on agenda items to be discussed. Comments must be related to the agenda item and the action being considered. Staff cannot discuss or comment on matters related to the pending investigations or litigations. City code requires speakers to present their comments in a respectful and courteous manner. Profane language, threats, personal attacks on members of the public, council members, or staff are not allowed. The person who violates these rules may lose their opportunity to speak. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your assistance today. Next, we'll have our interpreter introduce themselves, and we have Mario Barajas.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. Good morning. My name is Mario Barajas, and I will be serving as interpreter for today's meeting. I'll take a moment now to introduce myself to our Spanish-speaking audience. Muy buenos días, yo soy Mario Barajas y voy a estar sirviendo como intérprete a los de habla español. Quisiera informarles, más que nada, si es que van a estar dando un comentario público, por favor, hablar lentamente, claramente, así se pueda entender, para que se les pueda interpretar de la mejor manera posible. Muchas gracias. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Mario. We will go to our first item, approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
I move the approval of the subcommittee meeting minutes.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. We have items 2 through 5 on consent agenda. Are there any questions on those items? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 2 through 5. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. We have one information only item. Are there any questions on that item? Hearing none, we will move to item 8. Actually, we're going to take 8 and 7 in reverse order. And so I welcome to the table Mitch Menchaca, the Arts and Cultural Director, Sharon Harper, the Chairman and CEO of Plaza Companies, as well as Serena Ramey, the Senior Vice President, Marketing and Communications of GPEC, as well as Chris Mackey, our Economic and Community Development Director. I apologize for that. Thank you all for being here this morning. We are going to talk about the economic power, I guess, of arts.
Good morning, Chair O'Brien and members of the subcommittee. I'm Mitch Menchaca, Arts and Culture Director. Excited to be here to talk about this topic. The arts inspire and bring joy to residents. They beautify public spaces, strengthen community pride, create solutions for civic issues, help student success, and bolster the economy. I am thrilled to present information on the economic power of the arts, and I'm joined today by 2 community members who understand the role the arts play in our lives. I'm joined by Sharon Harper, Chairman and CEO of Plaza Companies, and Serena Ramey, the Senior Vice President of Marketing and Communications at GPEC. I'll start out by just sharing that in 2022, the City of Phoenix participated in the Arts and Economic Prosperity Study with Americans for the Arts to document the economic benefits of the nation's nonprofit arts and culture industry. Nationally, there was $151.7 billion generated in economic impact, over $1 billion in Arizona, and nearly $500 million here in Phoenix. That number included supporting 7,600 jobs and providing $323.5 million in personal income and $92 million to local, state, and federal tax revenues. The study also looked at the sector's social benefits. In Phoenix, nearly 90% of residents stated that the cultural activity or venue they attended inspired a sense of pride in the neighborhood or their community. 87% said they would feel a significant loss if the cultural activity or venue were no longer available, and 82% said the cultural venue or facility they attended is an essential pillar for them. From the city's own Zen City data, a majority of residents shared they are satisfied with the availability of arts and cultural events in the city. Americans for the Arts also studies the creative industries. These are art-centric businesses that range from nonprofit museums, theaters, to for-profit galleries, architectural firms, photo companies. In Phoenix, there are 3,600 arts-related businesses that provide a total of 39,552 jobs that are arts-related. A big part of our economy are individual artists. They're essential to the ecosystem. They are entrepreneurs, they are small businesses. In Phoenix, they contribute to the creative sector and bolster the economy. From research the department conducted through our COVID-19 recovery grant program, we learned that 71% of artists made their full-time living from sales and commissions, 68% earned income from nonprofit arts organizations or creative businesses, and 48% worked jobs outside of being a practicing professional artist. One way that artists earn commissions is through public art. What is public art? Generally, public art is public spaces that includes art. It could be murals, sculptures, memorials, integrated architectural, landscape architectural work, digital new design, and even performance and festivals can be considered public art. According to CodaWorks, public art is a $4.6 billion industry and one that also creates jobs. Out of that $4.6 billion, $2.7 billion went to artist contracts that earned their money through that contract, and $1.9 billion went to fabricators, other suppliers, and service providers in public art. And good news is that the sector is that the commission of public art is doubled in the past 2 years, so great news since the pandemic. The City of Phoenix has a public art collection that has over 250 outdoor site-specific pieces. Through public art projects, the agency has contributed over $12 million to the economy in the past 5 years. Later in the meeting today, we will present our fiscal year 25-30 public art plan, which includes ongoing and new projects with a 5-year budget of $24 million. The agency also reviewed 59 completed projects and learned that 1,566 jobs were created through these projects. Only 10% were artist contracts. Other industries, including fabrication, landscaping, and maintenance, made up those jobs, and the construction trades created 63% of the jobs hired or contracted on these past projects. The Phoenix Office of Arts and Culture's public art program is a national model and one of the most active and diverse municipal art programs in the United States. Great cities attract great talent worldwide, and we utilize artists from all over the world. However, our public art program is committed to providing opportunities for professional Arizona artists, and since 1986, more than 50% of our city-sponsored projects have been created by Arizona artists. We also look at the social impact. Public art can transform a neighborhood's sense of community and belonging. Public art in the community brings more foot traffic to a neighborhood. An area with a mural has nearly 3 times the weekend foot traffic of an area without one. The image shown here is our Welcome to Phoenix mural, which was created in partnership with the Convention Center, Downtown Phoenix, Inc., and ArtLink to enhance the pedestrian experience on Adams Street between 1st and 2nd for those attending the Super Bowl and other major events downtown, and will stay up for the Women's NCAA Championship coming up. According to the American Planning Association, public art can increase the value of surrounding properties by 25 to 35%. This project, called the Path to Water on 6th Street and Butler, was installed in 2019. The neighborhood nearby cleaned up their yards, and some even painted their homes to embrace the new sculpture and show their neighborhood pride. Phoenix, which has one of the best airport collections in the art collections in the nation, thrives with public art as it improves airport and visitor experiences. Public art is a wayfinding tool and helps travelers navigate airport spaces quickly. It can be a stress reliever and offer comfort to passengers and enhance revenue as visitors feel invited to shop or gather around retail outlets in the terminal around public art. So it creates a sense of place and brand. So how is public art commissioned? It can be commissioned by public art agencies like the Phoenix Office of Arts and Culture, or privately through businesses, individuals, and nonprofit organizations. Research does show that public art agencies remain the majority of funders in this space. And again, the Phoenix Office of Arts and Culture is a public art agency. Since its establishment in '86, the agency has been a national model for involving artists and designing and building a better city. For us, public art, it means that it's funded by public funds, it's created through a public process, and it is included in public spaces. The program was created through an ordinance that allocates 1% of the city's annual capital improvement program, the CIP, to public art projects. Beyond a percent for art ordinance, some public art agencies, including our neighbors Tempe and Scottsdale, have art in their private development or AIDP ordinances in addition to their CIP budgets. The Tempe ordinance requires large 50,000 square foot plus retail or office developments to commission artwork on their property at 58 cents per square foot. Scottsdale's ordinance requires that any development zoned as a planned block development in the downtown district allocate 1% of the building valuation towards original artwork. And in both, developers can contribute to a municipal arts fund instead of using the AIPD to create a work of art on their property to contribute to community arts grants for neighborhood projects. So public art and the arts in general play a vital role in shaping our city and surroundings, involving artists in improving the appearance and function of key civic building spaces and systems can help make Phoenix a better place to live, work, and visit. And now I'm happy to turn the presentation over to Sharon Harper, Chairman and CEO of Plaza Companies.
Good morning, Chairman O'Brien and council members, Hodge, Washington, and Robinson. I'm so honored to be here, but in particular, honored to be here for this topic.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can we have her pull her microphone a little bit closer to her? Or, oh, it's not on. Okay, perfect. Yep, it's on now. Thank you. So we want to make sure we can hear you, and so can everybody that's watching and listening.
And thank you again. I'm so honored to be here, but in particular honored because of the leadership of arts and culture here in the city of Phoenix. in all these years of recruiting companies and recruiting tenants and working in the real estate industry, people remember the facts, but what they really remember is the soul, how they felt after they left a project. And I really believe that arts and culture is creating that soul for Phoenix. So your leadership, your engagement with that is so important. I appreciated the invitation. Mitch had heard me speak at the Trends Day Urban Land Institute, which was several thousand real estate focused people. And our panel, including Chris Camacho from GPAC and myself, was about arts and culture in the private sector and how that makes a difference, and our goal in wanting the private sector to partner with philanthropy and to partner with the city to really enhance arts and culture in our region. And I heard from the CEO of UL afterwards that that panel was the one that got the most question and discussion and support afterwards, because it was a new topic for a lot of the private citizens. So once again, this leadership and making this such an important signature with you on this committee, with the mayor, the rest of the council, is a distinctive advantage, I think, in making people feel comfortable in Phoenix, want to be here, want to stay here, and enjoy it. Just a couple of facts, and I've done some slides, put together some slides. But on private philanthropy, I'm a trustee for the Virginia G. Piper Charitable Trust, and philanthropy has stepped up as a partner to public funding. This year, we reached 10,000 grants in Maricopa County. 1,400 of those grants are for arts and culture, $127 million. The GO Bond, congratulations to the city and to the voters, $30 million of support for arts and culture. That's the kind of leadership that's going to move everything forward. So in the private sector, we've tried to become an example of what development companies can do to work with you and work with private philanthropy to enhance the arts. So let's start at Park Central, near and dear to my heart and several others who have lived here for a long time. The first picture represents the 9 districts of the city of Phoenix. I don't know if all of you knew that, but that was really the welcome to Park Central and the appreciation of the greater city. The second was commissioned through the leadership of Council Member Pastor, representing the city as well. This next one was at Park Central from the very beginning. I wasn't sure we wanted it to come back until the person who owned it said it always brought good luck when he owned Park Central, so we said, we'll take it. So it's there as well. And several of the others, because as we've moved forward and attracted tenants to Park Central, we've encouraged them to embrace the arts. The flames that you see are one of 7 pieces commissioned by Creighton University Health Science Campus to inspire their students. We can move to the next slide there. But just wanted you to see how at the private sector we have embraced this. This is the parking deck, a public-private partnership with the city. And this might be one of the largest mural combinations here in the city as well. We have a performing arts center. Several of you have been there. We wanted to create a space within the commercial environment that really brought the community, and this was important to the surrounding neighborhoods. And we're trying to do this in our developments throughout the greater Phoenix region. Oh, here he is again. Good luck. Again, this represents the 9 districts of the city. We have a partnership with ArtLink. We actually have given them space to activate our development, and they have grown to do so much more for the entire city. There are ways when the private sector can really work to help embrace the arts. This almost 1,300 square foot is one of the largest installations in Arizona, and it tells the history of our community from the very early days to the last mural installation is about bioscience. Again, a very special gift from commitment from the city of Phoenix with this mural. Again, different artists wanting to put their projects on display. It really just takes intentional devotion from private sector to make things happen. Others can do this. We can go to the next one. With the installation here, we have commissioned this representing the new Phoenix Medical Quarter, which the mayor and the city council designated for this area about 1.5 years ago because of the cluster of these great companies and jobs and business. And this really represents that. Everyone who visits our Hilton hotels, just opening a couple of months ago, gets to see how great the city is and how we've combined arts, culture, bioscience in everything we do. Creighton University installed about $250,000 worth of art, all focused on healthcare, healing, bioscience. I think the next slide shows a few photographs. Once again, if we're intentional, if we just suggest it, people want to come on board, they want to work with us. And with the leadership of the city, with philanthropy and with private sector, I think we're just beginning about what we can do. So I think these are the last slides. But again, I think my message is thank you for the leadership. Without the city's leadership on this, we couldn't be where we are. It attracts philanthropy, it attracts the private sector. There's so much more we could do with a business plan to collectively enhance this. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, Chair O'Brien and members of the subcommittee. I'm Serena Ramey, SVP of Marketing Communications at the Greater Phoenix Economic Council, also known as GPEC. And at GPEC, at the core of everything we do is advancing regional competitiveness, and arts and culture is an important aspect of that. As you've seen illustrated today already, and as you know, arts and culture is an incredible sector in our economy. Across the state in 2023, it represented over $15.8 billion in economic value and 3% of our state GDP. And we were looking for a way to further elevate this incredible and growing sector. That value that it added to our economy grew 11% year over year from 2022 to 2023. And in doing so, we focused on public art as, the most visible and accessible medium to experience. And we're looking for a way to elevate that globally, and decided to bring this vision and partner with our communities and City of Phoenix to position Greater Phoenix as what we're calling the most decorated region in the United States. And our goal with this initiative, which we just launched earlier this year, is really to drive that global awareness and showcase the incredible work that already exists here in the artists and the community as a whole, that is incredible and growing as we speak. Of course, there are economic benefits to this, advancing the regional competitiveness on a global stage. Arts is such a key driver of how you experience any environment, and positioning our arts globally is going to advance our economy as well. And of course, we know creative economy drives innovation. Robust creative economies, they indicate further startups and further innovation across industries. It's not just distinct to the creative sector. And then, of course, we want to drive further awareness of the arts here and build further opportunities for artists in our region. So we've taken this as a phased approach. As I mentioned, we did some research last year to see how we could benchmark the art that exists across our region, compared to global cities. And we have a platform that we found that I'll talk about in just a moment to really benchmark across the globe. And we're working with communities such as City of Phoenix to centralize documentation of our existing artworks so that we can really compare. And then, of course, we are talking about this in all of our marketing and really showcasing how we are positioned as one of the top markets in the United States and the world as a public art, or in public art. So this is the platform that we are using to benchmark across global cities. And as I mentioned, we are centralizing documentation and activating new hunters. This is really a community effort. It's essentially crowdsourcing pictures and documentation of the public art that exists. So it's an activity that the entire community can participate in. And then we also want to showcase the existing programs, whether that be festivals or street art and public art that's commissioned by the city. With upcoming events, we'll list those on the platform as well, further showcasing to our community and the world the activity that's happening here. So our current ranking, we are number 9 in the world today as a region for the largest art collection, and number 3 in the nation. And that's behind only LA and New York City. And almost half of those are located in the city of Phoenix. Of our 811 regional public works, 379 are located in city of Phoenix. So that's 46.6%, I believe.
Ask for a quick clarification.
Yes,
when you say region, is that the Maricopa County, or could you define the region for us?
Of course. Thank you, Chair O'Brien and members of the subcommittee. That region is Maricopa County and Pinal County. So what's next for us as we continue to partner with City of Phoenix to elevate the works that are here? We are hoping to continue documentation because we know that that 811 is not the entirety of the collection in the city and region. And so as we continue to document these, I expect our numbers to run close to the milestone goals that we have set, which is to surpass 2,500 artworks in the region in order to be ranked number 1 nationally. And 3,300 artworks in the region would position us as number 1 largest collection in the world. And we are already ranked in the top 10 global communities on this platform as most popular. So that means over 1,000 views monthly to our region and viewing public art within the city of Phoenix and an extended region. Thank you so much.
We're happy to answer any questions that the subcommittee may have.
Do you guys are all done? Yes. Questions? Sorry, yes, ma'am. Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everyone, for the great presentation. I really was, we all know that public art brings a sense of neighborhood, we bring a sense of ownership. It just brings a sense of pride to the community. Most recently, we had our reopening of Perry Park, and the community was just so enthused with the artwork that's there. So I'm definitely an advocate and a fan of public art. But I would like to hear a little bit more about, I don't want to direct it to someone specifically, but Ms. Harper, if I may, given you've stressed a lot about the potential of private-public partnerships, and I've had some public sector partners who were not as open to public art because they were concerned about like maintenance and all of those things. What would you tell me to tell them?
I think we want to, number one, lead by example. And so that's not just intentionally making sure we're including the creative community in our developments, but it's also supporting them and sending out press releases and articles that enhance the value of our business, our tenants, our tenant attraction, and the art community. And I think we have proven over and over again that that makes a difference. A number of my colleagues have picked up this idea and we're seeing it happen. I think we do have a long ways to go on the broader groups doing this. And I think it takes that commitment to the local community where we really care about how our community is that can help move this forward. But I think by continuing to let people know by these partnerships between the public sector, the city, foundations, and the private sector, and how together we can really enhance this, I think can make a difference. GPEC's leadership in really cataloging this is making a difference as well, talking about it, promoting it, saying that it makes a difference. I actually hadn't seen the slide. I think, Mitch, you said it makes a property 25% more valuable. I'll have to see how that works when we go to monetize something. But I honestly believe it creates interest. It gives somebody something to remember when they leave the location and they want to come back. So I think we have a ways to go, but I think collectively, let's work on that together. Let's get the private sector, who really just have to pay attention to do it.
Thank you. I know who to call when I get a little pushback. My second question was, I wanted to I think it's slide 39. Just wanted to talk a little bit about the proposed timeframes on the steps or the phases of approach, kind of where we stand and kind of what we anticipated our goals, if there's any, Serena. If there's not, you can also tell me it's in progress.
Sorry, let me go back to. Oh, yep. And thank you, Councilmember Hodge-Washington. Yes, so phases of approach and the corresponding timelines, we established this benchmarking platform just about a year ago. And right after doing so, realizing that this was the best way to compare our collection against global cities, we began to document and really centralize documentation, because City of Phoenix has such an extensive documentation of their collection, as do other communities and some private entities and community members. And so we began to work with the cities and community organizations to centralize that documentation, and then build up a team who is really passionate about documentation. So we have about 6 individuals right now and hope to grow that to continue documenting. And so we've worked on that for the last year and just began to leverage our position and rankings in marketing materials when we officially launched this in February of 2025. And we'll continue to do both of those phases kind of simultaneously as we continue to build out. And once we have reached the point where we feel documentation is extensive and inclusive of the art that is existing, that's when we hope to further facilitate connection points within the private sector and advance additional opportunities to connect those artists that are in our platform today and the private sector companies who have available walls or are looking for other ways to connect with artists and create public artworks.
Thank you. And then my last question is, what if I am an artist and I want to make sure that my work is included here in the collection? What should I do?
Yes, thank you so much for that question, Councilmember Hodge-Washington. We welcome artists to visit the Street Art Cities webpage or reach out to me. There is a small process of becoming an official artist in the platform. And once you have a login where you can upload your own works or clarify different details about when a work that may exist in the platform was created, or different partners who existed in that collaboration. So yes, we welcome artists to visit the platform or reach out directly to me to create their profile and get involved.
Thank you so much. Again, thank you for a great presentation. We all know I really appreciate the value of integrating art into our infrastructure. It helps preserve our history, gives our community a sense of pride. It also enhances mobility. It furthers a lot of goals for our community. So thank you for all that you do in this space. And that is it, Chair.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hodge-Washington. Councilman Robinson?
Thank you, Chair. First of all, it's an excellent presentation. Just echo a little bit of what Councilwoman Hodge-Washington was saying. I had the opportunity to just download the site when you were sitting there talking about it, and the QR code popped up. And the question I have, and it seems like it's very, everything is there, but is there a particular part of the city that doesn't have the input or doesn't have the, the arts that we would like to see? And are there any efforts, and I guess maybe it's you, Mitch, more than anybody else, is there an effort to push into that area?
Thank you, Chair O'Brien, Councilman Robinson, members of the subcommittee. Yes, we, in our own collection, we believe in geographic parity of all 519 square miles of the city. And so we try to leverage our public art plan to ensure that our collection is equitably distributed. What we are trying to do now with partners like GPEC is to get these tools in the hand of the artist community that we have relationships with in and out of our public art program and our grants program, and trying to spread the word to say, if you've done a really cool mural in North Phoenix, make sure that you're highlighted. If you've done something in Levine, make sure it's highlighted. I did try to report a new mural in my own neighborhood. Somebody beat me to it already. So it's just getting the word out, and I think that the department could be better about finding the private sector's initiatives and sharing it along with the city opportunities. But we do know that there are disproportionate areas of the city. When it comes to arts and culture, the downtown central city is where a lot of artists and creatives want to come. I grew up in Pinal County, so glad they're part of the region. And as soon as I graduated, I'm like, I'm going to the big city and go live in downtown to be an artist. So I think that we need to create a mentality and share that the arts can flourish in any part of the community. I'm sad that Councilwoman Stark is not here, because I believe Sunny Slope is the next big arts hub here in the city. And that's just from the community to saying the arts are going to be a pillar for our community.
Chairman O'Brien and members of the committee, I can share a process that we've gone through that I think is helping to bring artists from wherever they are or wherever they live here locally to participate. We do a call to artists process through ArtLink, which is publicized highly through social media, not only their membership, which are thousands of artists, but elsewhere, so that people here at Park Central or at one of our medical buildings, we're going to have a competition and people can compete for that. We'll have a whole list of things that we're looking for, but we're trying to open that up to as many artists as possible. So I think that process, as we can unfold that more, can really reach more people as well.
Thank you, Councilman Robinson. So I would like to start with Mrs. Harper and say that I'm curious, in Tempe and Scottsdale, given the fact that they have an ordinance, how do those ordinances impact the development of art in those cities as compared to what we do in Phoenix?
Council members, chairman, I don't know if I can exactly compare, but we do have quite a bit of development in Scottsdale, both in South Scottsdale at Sky Song, and then a large platform in senior housing and healthcare. A certain percentage of the development fee goes toward art. And so when you come to Sky Song, the big shade structure is part of an art program, or we have a large, we have a number of pieces of art throughout Sky Song, and those are publicly funded. They have a committee that goes through the whole process, does the call to artists, people compete. So it's a city process to even recruit the artists to that kind of a use. So it's been pretty effective from our perspective that way.
Wonderful. I appreciate that perspective, given that you develop all over our region. And then, Chris, given that you and your team bring so many companies and CEOs and executives to the city of Phoenix, what feedback can you give us about the art? I loved what Sharon said about arts and culture is the soul of the city. So I'd like to hear it from your perspective, from the economic perspective.
Chairwoman and members of the subcommittee, It is critical. Creating that sense of place that companies feel when they arrive in Phoenix or that they see when they're here makes them feel welcome. It makes them feel like they're part of a place. They could be anywhere, they could pick any city, but that destination location, that art that makes them, that speaks to them, that's something that makes them feel this just isn't a homogenous city, does check large on check boxes when we're working at winning companies. And as Director Machaca talked about in the beginning, it's not just about placemaking art. It's not just about murals and public pieces. It's also about music and festivals. And I'll use an example and then follow up with a second one. Let's look at South by Southwest in Austin. It's a massive music and technology festival, but it started as a little music festival with local artists playing and people coming to see them, and has turned into one of the country's major technology conferences. Music City, Nashville, they're playing on that now and bringing up their own music festival scene that is drawing technology companies to it. And so to your point, that art, whether it's print art, whether it's murals, whether it's art locations, or whether it's music festivals, draw those technology companies. They want to be part of a city that has a social conscience. And that social conscience is really represented in the art.
Excellent. Thank you for that feedback. And I'm so excited to hear that that you all are creating a record of where everything is. And so if I have community members who want to report something, I did not download the app while y'all were talking. They can go on there and report it to you all, and then you check into it. Is that how that works?
Yeah, thank you, Chair O'Brien and members of the subcommittee. Ultimately, we would love to have members of the community actually sign up as official hunters, where they would have their own profile and be able to upload images and new works at any point. But if they don't want to do that and they want to flag artwork to us, we welcome that as well.
Wonderful. I think we would like to share this with my community, although up in the north, I think we could use a little extra help in the Arts and Culture Department sometimes as well. And then, Mitch, I'd like to find out about if we were to look into an art ordinance like Tempe or Scottsdale has, how would we incorporate the community and the arts department into planning that type of process?
Thank you, Chair O'Brien, members of the subcommittee. It's actually been a topic of conversation, and planning and development would be a lead in that conversation. And there is a text amendment in the downtown code that gives a credit or a reduction if they include artwork. So we're testing it out in small ways, but we would have to obviously do community input to see how the business community would feel about a piece of their project either going towards an artwork or some sort of fund. But conversations with planning and development have started with past advocacy even before me and my predecessor. So I think strengthening those conversations and knowing it's a thought on the leadership of the city as a discussion, I think would be helpful. But I think also having other folks like Sharon and Serena involved in those conversations of planning and development and how the mechanisms work. Because as Sharon mentioned in Scottsdale, it's the business community that puts their money up, but it does become the city that runs it, much like our public art program. So, what is also the overhead and cost for the city? So I think doing some research on that would be beneficial, but then community conversations and then how it fits into zoning.
And I would just ask, as we're, sounds like testing or dipping our toe in the water in a couple of places there, that we are mindful of making sure we do it in a way that is not slowing down development, as if we were to follow that path. And then again, I'd like to thank Sharon, because I saw your presentation at ULI with Chris, and it was amazing, and which is why I wanted to have this presentation here today. It was incredible, and we need folks to understand how important arts and culture are to our city, to the soul of our people, the soul of our city, but also to the economic aspect of it. So thank you all for coming and presenting today. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
All right, we'll have the Tenant Assistance Program. Jacqueline Edwards, the Human Services Director, will present.
Good morning, Chair and members of the subcommittee. Today I will be sharing information about the tenant assistance programs that the Human Services Department offers. The Human Services Department provides 3 primary programs and services focused on supporting tenants in Phoenix. These are the Rental and Utility Assistance Program, the Landlord Tenant Program, and Eviction Legal Services. Emergency financial assistance services, such as for rent and utility payments, are available to City of Phoenix residents in crisis situations. Funding for rent and utility assistance is provided through a multitude of fund sources, including local, state, and federal funds, each with their own specific eligibility criteria. In general, to be eligible for these services, a client must be a resident of Phoenix or receives city water services. The household income must be no greater than 200% of the federal poverty line, which for a family of 4 would be $64,300 per year. And the household must demonstrate a risk of homelessness, financial hardship, or housing instability. Funding for rent and utility assistance is limited due to high demand and need within our community. Therefore, we also apply additional emergency criteria to support those tenants who are most vulnerable, which includes if they have received a 24-hour lockout or utility shutoff notice, they have a member of the household who is under 2 years old, or a senior, or a person with a disability, or if there is a domestic violence situation. Across the various fund sources, HSD has about $4.5 million budgeted in fiscal year 25 to provide rent and utility assistance. Year to date, we have provided $1.6 million in rental assistance to 949 households, with an average payment per household of $1,683, and $1.8 million in utility assistance to 3,390 households with an average payment of $550. In addition, case management services are offered to clients to help support their housing stability. Currently, we are providing over 600 households with this service. If a resident is seeking rental or utility assistance, they should first call 602-534-AID at the beginning of the week to schedule an appointment. Or they may access our website to apply online. And finally, they may go to any one of our 3 family service centers to speak with HSD staff on how to apply for this service. The second tenant assistance program HSD operates is the Landlord Tenant Program. This program provides educational services, information, and non-legal counseling to landlords and tenants on their rights under the Arizona Residential Landlord and Tenant Act. For counseling services, the eligibility criteria requires the tenant to be a Phoenix resident or receiving city water services, as well as to have an income no greater than 80% of the area median income, which for a household of 4 is $82,250 per year. In addition, the Landlord Tenant Program also supports residents who are experiencing health and safety concerns in their rented living space. These health and safety hazards may include a non-working cooling system with temperatures exceeding 86 degrees for an evap or swamp cooler, or not exceeding 82 degrees for central air conditioning, or if they have a non-working heating system or a lack of potable water. HSD works in partnership and refers these issues to the Neighborhood Services Department Code Enforcement Team. If the tenant meets the eligibility criteria for emergency assistance, then the Human Services Department may provide such emergency assistance as temporary shelter or transportation for the household. To date, in fiscal year 2025, the Landlord-Tenant Program has provided 36 educational workshops in both English and Spanish. These have been provided to 159 landlords and 1,704 tenants. Overall, the program has served over 10,000 clients this fiscal year through phone calls and emails received, in-person appointments, and educational sessions and workshops. This also includes connections to other services, such as 65 referrals to the NSD Code Enforcement Team and 11 referrals to the Eviction Legal Services Program. If a tenant is seeking access to the Landlord-Tenant Program for counseling and information services, they may call 602-262-7210 or email us at landlord.tenant.hsd@phoenix.gov. Additionally, they may visit the Travis L. Williams Family Services Center to speak directly with staff during business hours, Monday through Friday. For educational workshops, the calendar of events is listed on HSD's website. Also, if a tenant is requiring emergency support due to their urgent rented housing issue, they can access our new emergency assistance request intake form 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at www.phoenix.gov/human-services/landlord-tenant-info. In addition, tenants may also contact us by phone or email. During our heat season, these requests will be monitored and responded to by HSD staff Monday through Saturday. The newest of our tenant assistance programs is the Eviction Legal Services Program, which launched in January 2025. ELS is funded with $1.2 million in one-time American Rescue Plan Act interest funds. This program assists tenants who potentially face an eviction or those who have already faced an eviction by connecting them with one of 3 legal service providers to access mediation, limited or full legal representation, or post-eviction services to support their housing stability. To be eligible for this service, a tenant must be a resident of Phoenix or receives city water services. The household income must not be greater than 80% of the area median income, and the household must be at risk of eviction or have already been evicted. Since this is a new program, we are conducting outreach in a variety of methods. This includes a social media campaign in which we are focused on sharing details on access to the program on all of our social media channels. We are also connecting tenants through other HSD programs as well as through other city departments, which includes flyers, posters, and lobby monitors at the family service centers and senior centers having information, as well as information being posted at heat relief centers and at housing department sites. Direct referrals, such as the Landlord-Tenant Program, is another opportunity we are connecting tenants to this important service. In June, the program will be advertised in the city's June pay notice for all those who receive city water services. We are also working on identifying the communities with the highest rates of eviction to ensure they are aware of this program and expected to do targeted outreach within the next month. Since January, we have received 140 requests from residents for services. 85 of these have been referred to legal service providers, and all 85 have been accepted as cases by one of the 3 legal service providers. Of these 85 cases, 71% are for legal representation and 29% is for post-eviction services. To date, we have not had any cases for mediation. This is one area that the department is concentrating on increasing as it supports greater stability within households to avoid the eviction process altogether. Now, to date, we have closed 35 cases. Although limited due to only 35 cases being closed, we have seen initial positive results. This includes 9 cases in which there were negotiated settlements with the landlord, 5 cases in which affordable housing units were preserved on behalf of the tenant, 3 cases in which eviction filings were prevented altogether, 4 cases in which there was a negotiation for the tenant to remain in the home without an eviction, 3 cases in which the tenant was required to leave the home, but there was no eviction, and 1 case in which time was extended for someone to move out, even though there was an eviction judgment. 7 cases, they had reduced or waived fees for the tenants, and finally, 3 cases in which back rent was reduced or waived. As we continue to refine the program, we are hopeful these positive results will continue. For a household to access eviction legal services, we have a screening form in both English and in Spanish available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on our website at phoenix.gov/eviction services. If a household is unable to complete the form online, whether due to technology limitations or another language being required, we are able to receive requests via email or via phone. In addition, we can receive documentation at any one of our family service centers located across the city. Thank you for your time today, Chair and members of the subcommittee. I appreciate the opportunity to share these very important programs that the Human Services Department provides to our tenants within the city. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Jacqueline. I'd like to start with slide 10. There were 140 cases referred, 85 are accepted. What happened to the other 55 cases?
Chair O'Brien, thank you very much for that question. So those 55 cases were either incomplete or deemed ineligible. Now, when we receive a case that's incomplete, we do multiple outreaches to those tenants. That could mean that we don't have any evidence that they have a lease. They may not have provided any type of basic income documentation for us to see if they are eligible for the program. We reach out to them via email as well as via phone and give them a time frame in which they must respond. If they respond within that time and they need additional time, we will extend that for them. We do understand how quickly the process goes if someone already has an eviction filing. So that is why we have a quick turnaround time from staff to reach out to these clients. Now, if it's not an incomplete, some folks are deemed ineligible or have refused the service. So we've talked with them, let them know what the service is, and they have decided that they did not want to proceed. Other times in which they are deemed ineligible, it's because they don't even have a lease, or they're thinking that this program is providing a different service, such as providing rental assistance. So we do have that information on the page to ensure that folks know this is for legal assistance and not for financial assistance, to try to clarify that prior to them getting into the process.
Okay, so of those 55 cases, though, and I just want to go back to the non-eligible or ineligible. You've listed 0 as non-eligible, so none of them would have fallen into the non-eligible or ineligible? I guess I'm confused a little bit on the
Yes.
data on this page.
Sure, happy to clarify. So that non-eligible title on that page is for the 85 cases. When we refer when we have deemed a household eligible, so 85 were deemed eligible, then we refer those to one of the 3 legal service providers. The legal service provider has to accept the case. So they have to deem it eligible from their perspective as a legal service provider. And all of those that we have referred over have been accepted as cases. So the difference is the 140 in which we have not been able to refer on to the next step, whether due to their ineligibility, with incomplete documentation, refusal of service, or another factor.
So just to make sure I understand,
Yes.
it's a 2-step process that
Correct.
and when you say referred, that means we received an application at the city, we go through our step and then decide if we send it on, which is the 85 that we've accepted at the city. Then there's the non-eligible where there is a 0 right now. That is one of our 3 contractors saying, we've accepted all 85 that you've sent us.
That is correct, Vice Mayor.
Okay. And I think for me personally, I'd like to see the stats on the 55 that the city did not refer on, so we can understand is that because they didn't meet the eligibility requirements, they didn't provide the documentation, or they refused the services because they thought it was something else. Did I leave something off that one of you would like to see in those stats?
I will send these to all of the offices. I can just share with you at a high level. So 41 were incomplete applications.
Okay. And you notify them that, and then they have an opportunity
Yes.
to make them complete.
That
Okay.
is correct.
Great. Okay.
Yes. Then 14 were deemed ineligible. So 8 of those weren't Phoenix residents.
Okay.
And then 6 of those, they were not on the lease, they were not evicted and not at threat of eviction. They refused services.
Okay. So, and then I'm going to go back to the 41 that you said were incomplete. Are you able to divide that down further on like what made it incomplete?
I don't have that information in front of me, but that is something that we can follow up and provide.
Okay, if you could provide that to all the committee members, that
Yes.
would be, I think, very helpful for us. Then I want to go back.
Vice Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
excuse me, I do want to share that we have been examining kind of this gap to better understand and how we can better support tenants in making sure that their application is complete to get them to the next step. So we do have within our application process categorical income eligibility. If they are in certain categories, they don't have to show us any income documentation. We can just verify those specific categories on our own, verify, move them forward. We're looking to see if there's opportunities to expand that as well as other opportunities that we could cut back on the income documentation portion of it.
Okay, that is wonderful to know. And if you, I think maybe could provide us a synopsis of that when you provide us the data.
Will do.
On those 41 cases. I think that would be helpful to myself and the committee members. In the slide before that, you talked about advertising the eviction legal services in the June's pay notice, which is the water bill. How are we reaching folks that may get water as part of their rent, and so they're not getting a water bill? I know I'm going to date myself, but I used to live in an apartment that they paid my water.
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor, for that question. So that is how we're conducting outreach through social media channels, through our other services that we do provide in the Human Services Department in partnership with other city departments. And that is where the next step in our outreach is really focused in those communities with higher rates of eviction. And so what we know with the data that Many of those areas that have higher rates of eviction are larger apartment complexes in which water may not, they may not be directly paying for water as a tenant. And so being able to outreach to them through both apps and doing community outreach efforts is something that we will be focused on over the next month.
Okay, I know that when I first came to office, we asked the water department to include information about the different assistances we had in the water bill, and that we're working on those relationships with some of our other service providers like Cox, APS, SRP, and I wonder if this could be something that could be included, right? If you're having trouble paying your phone bill or your Wi-Fi bill, right? That you would maybe need to know that there are some service available. So I hope we can explore that as well. I have a couple more questions. I apologize, gotta find them. On page or slide 11, you gave us some general outcomes of cases. Are those all individual and separate cases?
That is correct.
Okay, so that is a good income. All right.
It represents the 35 closed cases.
Okay, they do all represent that. All right. And then, council members, do you have? Yes. Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you again, Director Edwards, for this presentation. It's very helpful. I want to start off by saying thank you to the Human Services Department for continuing to invest in services that truly meet people where they are. I am beyond elated to see that we are collecting data on the eviction legal services. That's one of, on that program. That's one of the areas I felt like we were not doing ourselves the greatest service. And now it helps to demonstrate. I know it's still early in in the sample size, but I think it shows that this is a program that helps to prevent homelessness. It's a powerful tool. I want to go over a couple of questions over some of the data that you had, just to get some clarification. With respect to the rental and utility assistance eligibility guidelines in comparison to the eviction legal services guideline, I see a little bit of a disconnect. Specifically, on the eviction legal services, the income requirement is 80% of the area median income, which is for a family of four about $82,000. But yet for rental assistance, the eligibility income is 200% of the federal poverty line, which you said for a family of four is about $64,000. That is about a I don't do math in public, but close to $20,000 gap for a family of four. How do you, any recommendations on how we bridge that gap? Because sometimes it is simply just the inavailability of funds that is necessary.
Thank you very much, Chair, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, committee members. The differences in eligibility, whether it's in these programs or across the entire Human Services Department, is really related to the fund source that we are providing. So for rental and utility, what I had shared in the slide is in general specifically with the income is in general what's required. And that goes back to the state and the federal funding that we receive and the requirements that are beholden to that. To close that gap, to widen that to the 80% of area median income for a household, which is based on HUD standards. The other programs are based on the Department of Health and Human Service standards. It would require an additional fund investment without those types of requirements. We continue, whether it's in rental and utility assistance, or eviction legal services, or any of our human service programs, we continue to look for funding opportunities that give us additional flexibility to support our residents.
Thank you. And I think it might be helpful for me to understand whether or not there are circumstances where this gap is in play, because it may be just a theoretical problem I see on paper, but is there data to show that this is actually a concern that we have in the residents that are seeking support? And you can share that at a later time, or you can answer now.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Hodge Washington. I can share more details in follow-up to this, including what the average income that we see for residents that are applying for services. As I shared with the eviction legal services, do have that information that we have not deemed any households ineligible due to income. So that threshold of about $82,250 for a household of 4, we are meeting the needs of the community in that end. In rental and utility assistance, I can follow up on what we see there. The one thing to note is that we have a very high need, very high call volume and high requests, especially for rental and utility assistance. And even with additional funds to be invested and even to close that gap, we still would not be meeting the entire community's needs.
Thank you for that. Actually, one of my questions was going to be on the rental and utility assistance. Do we anticipate the current funding levels to carry us through the rest of the fiscal year?
So we are required by our, as a community action agency, with our contract with the Arizona Department of Economic Security to operate a 12-month program. So we have to have services available all year round. So the staff do really an incredible job at managing the funds and the appointments that we do have to ensure that we are able to provide services all year long. So the remaining funding we have will take us through the end of June.
One more question. I have more than one, but on this line regarding the rental and utility systems. What is the normal turnaround period, say, from application to actual funds to the tenant or to the utility or landlord?
Councilwoman Hodge Washington, I do not have that exact number for a turnaround time frame. I'm happy to walk you through what a typical process looks like. So someone calls in on a Monday, they are scheduling, the staff do schedule appointments out from there. They may be scheduling an appointment for 2 weeks time frame. At that point, they come in, they complete the application, collect all of the documentation. If that vendor, such as a landlord, is already considered a vendor in the city, we are able to put in that pay request and issue that check within the city's issuance guidelines. We do work with the landlords and let them know what this pay guarantee looks like and that turnaround time frame. The exact or the average days from time of application to time of check cut, I would have to get back to you on that because I do not have that information.
That would be very much appreciated. I understand there are systems in place, but I'll just give you my initial reaction to a 2-week time period. That can seem very lengthy in these circumstances, especially if someone is facing potential eviction. So I don't know what can be done to possibly, I want to call the worst words, or reprioritize those types of turnarounds would be helpful on that. My other just general question before I get into more specifics is I realize that in what you're talking about, like, for example, people call different numbers for different services. Have we given any thought to the potential of consolidating, having one hotline related to landlord, tenant, or just kind of all of our, if you're a tenant, this is the number you call for service, so that we are not adding additional time into the process, taking it from one program to another program, maybe having more of a streamlined option?
Thank you very much, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, for that question. 2 things. First off, on the rental and utility assistance and expediting that process, we do have the emergency criteria. So if someone's receiving a 24-hour lockout or a 24-hour utility disconnection, they are able to call in at any time and we're able to expedite that. We are taking a really deep dive into our processes overall to see how we can better support the community and help them access services while also making sure that they are aware of the limited nature that we do have to support them financially. As for your question regarding a centralized phone line, whatnot, there's a number of things that the Human Services Department is currently working on. We are looking in partnership with the telecom at the city, examining all of our phone lines and how all of them can be streamlined so that when someone calls, they are getting to the right person or the right program rather than getting the runaround on the phone. So looking at how best to streamline that, and because there's additional advances made in telecom that are being implemented here at the city, how we can take advantage of those advances and implement them in the Human Services Department. The other thing that we are in the process of looking or working on with ITS is a new client-facing module, as well as a case management system, so a central point in which individuals, households can submit applications and get information across a multitude of Human Services Department services. Now, there is a lot, it's a new system we're implementing, so we do have a long runway on prior to that being implemented. But in the meantime, that is where you see, like in our eviction legal services program or the landlord-tenant program, new forms being created to expedite the process. So whether it's making sure someone has access through phone or email, but also that they could fill out a form at any time and we can quickly get the information to respond to their needs.
Okay, thank you. I have a few more questions. I'm going to pivot over a little bit to the eviction legal services. I acknowledge that this is still, I would call it, in its early stages, not infancy. It's a little bit more fleshed out. And we have received 140 cases referred. I actually undertook the process. I went on there, filled an application to see kind of how intensive it is and what is requested during this problem. One of the concerns that I had in doing this is it wasn't clear, or maybe I'm missing this, but how are we capturing the full need for the program if we are requiring them only to provide, bad question. I think the way that we are requesting the information is in a way saying individuals, if you don't fit these criteria, don't apply. So it's difficult for us to determine the true scope of the need for the program. Does my question make sense?
Yes, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, it does make sense. So we do go through, and if they do not meet certain criteria, they are screened out of the process. So if they identify that they're not a City of Phoenix resident or do not receive city water services, then we're not going to make them go further along in the process. We also, it is based on how they answer the questions, there is logic to that to ask additional questions. If they don't meet the criteria, whether it's through non-payment of rent, breach of lease, or another specific condition, if they're not meeting those, then they do not meet the needs of the criteria for the program and are screened out. So for the complete needs to your question of the complete needs, what we know is that eviction rates are very high. We have the $1.2 million in funding that we do expect to take us through June of 2026. If we made it as broad as anyone who is facing an eviction and did not have these additional criteria, we would not be able to deal with the capacity at multiple levels, as well as not being able to provide the service for the length of time that we're looking at to see if we have results based on these program criteria. For the complete need, of course, we look at the data that the justice courts do put out there based on eviction filings.
Okay. Thank you. I still have a few more, if you can indulge me. We know that statistics show us that during the summer months, eviction tend to increase for a number of reasons, whether it's increased childcare costs, higher utility, limited income, those things. You mentioned, one, we want to help identify communities. You want to do more targeted outreach to communities where there are higher risk or higher eviction numbers in the next month. Can you talk a little bit about the process of identifying those high-risk communities and what that targeted outreach would look like?
Yes, thank you for this question. So we will be taking the information that is based on eviction filings. We're able to take a look at that and see which are the areas, whether it's by those who have specific property managers, landlords, whatnot, or area codes, zip codes, to see which have the highest number of filings. Then what we're able to do is work with, depending on where they're located in the city, whether it's community partners that have access in those communities, if we have relationships in those communities. And that includes with landlords, right? Through our rental and utility assistance services, as well as through our landlord-tenant program. We do have relationships with landlords. So how can we get ahead of the eviction process that supports both our tenants as well as the landlords? So that is where also that focus on the mediation, negotiation piece of it. If someone's unable to pay rent and they know that they cannot pay rent, then we want to make sure they know about our program, especially in these communities, so we can avoid the eviction filing process altogether. So that includes potentially door-to-door outreach, along with other strategies based on, again, where these are located across our city and what relationships we already have developed or new ones that we need to develop.
And do we have, is this plan in a form that you can share more specifics with me and the rest of the committee?
A plan, once we have identified, yes, I'm happy to share that plan when we have identified those communities that we will be targeting and what the specific strategies for those communities will be. We'll share that over the next few weeks.
And I'll give my unsolicited advice to the strategies potential. I definitely think that we should be maximizing our relationships with the landlords that are part of our different housing programs to at least let them know that this is an option and ask them to share this when they share default letters with their tenants. I also would recommend that we look at some of the community partners in the area that have programs such as Pilgrim Rest. I know they do sometimes do a legal clinic. We may want to ensure that they know of our services as well. There's a couple other things I could articulate, but those are the two I really wanted to make sure that we focused on. And there are organizations I think that we can ask to help share the word with, whether or not it's the Arizona Bar Foundation as well as the State Bar. I think those would be two ways. As we talk about moving forward with getting the word out to more individuals about this program, one of the questions I have to ask is our current program, as the way it sits, what do we anticipate to be the capacity? Currently, we have 3 service providers, and right now we have seen numbers of 85 cases accepted. What do we anticipate that our service providers can handle on maybe, say, a monthly basis?
So based on both the 2-step process that we have, so the review of staff within Human Services and then the distribution of cases within to our 3 service providers, we are at just about 50% capacity right now. So we do have room to grow. We have been growing each month over and over, but we do have some additional room to take a look at least to have 50 cases per month.
Is it 50 cases?
50 new cases. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
50 new cases per month.
50 new cases per month as a program, not per provider.
I'm sorry.
50 new cases per month as a program whole, not 50 new cases per provider.
That's correct. 50 new cases as a program in totality. Each provider, there's limitations that each provider has communicated. Some have a cap number of cases that they can take per month. Some providers do not provide all 3 services, so we do distribute the cases based on those criteria. And the estimated cap of 50 cases per month was taken into consideration, both that, our budget, and HSD staff capacity.
Okay. And then thank you for these questions. My last one, I think right now, is written down with, what are we doing to capture the tenant experience or the end user experience as to the benefits or the concerns they've had regarding all of these programs, not limitation to the eviction legal assistance?
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Hodge Washington. 2 things. One, specifically to eviction legal services, we do have a survey that goes out to closed cases. It's within 30 days of its being closed to really understand what their experience. 6 months after a closed case, so we are not there for anyone quite yet, but there will be an additional survey that goes out for us to determine or try to determine if they are considered housing stable 6 months after this service. So that's specific to eviction legal services. We do an annual survey for those who receive rental and utility assistance to gain feedback from clients on their experience. The Human Services Department is now revising how we are doing that, though, and taking a look at across all of our programs, implementing a new survey come July 1st that will target every person that we touch in the department so that we can see where we can better meet their needs and improve our customer service.
Thank you so much for answering my multitude of questions. I'm very supportive of this program. I just want to make sure that we are capturing the right details, and we are, I know we are, and for lack of a better word, we are building the plane as we fly it. So I thank you for your receptiveness to this. But I just want to say this, the data that we have thus far has been supportive. Whether it's settlement agreement or the waiver of fees, even it's simply giving our residents more time. These are meaningful preventative solutions. These are just not emergency reactions. And this is one of the top requested services our office hears about from residents. So it's very encouraging to see the resources are actually reaching people and making a difference. I just want to emphasize the importance of public awareness. I think this is one of the areas where we cannot serve people if they don't know about the services that exist. So I am truly looking forward to hearing more about the outreach plan, what it looks like, and how we can scale this program to meet the needs of our community. So thank you again for the time. Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to ask my questions.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hodge Washington. Okay, I have just a couple more. You talked about the different forms for our different programs. Are they all available in English and Spanish?
The eviction legal services is available in English and Spanish. For the new form that we launched for the landlord-tenant program emergency is only in English. We are in the process of translating that into Spanish. And for rental and utility assistance, we are able to provide support to clients in both English and in Spanish.
And when do we anticipate the one that's being translated will be done?
I would expect that would be done within the next week.
Okay. On the eviction legal services, what is our timeline for reviewing an application?
24 business hours, so 1 business day to review. We have a shorter amount of time for reviewing an application and getting back. Typically, it's within the same business day that we are contacting back clients. Then we refer over to the legal service providers. If we're seeing that this is a case of high need, we won't just email, we will contact and flag this for them as well, so that they can contact that client sooner.
And how long, what is the timeline for the vendor?
48 hours, or 2 business days.
So 2 business days.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Have we had any situations where the client has done everything they were supposed to do and our timing didn't, we failed, I guess? I don't know that that's the right question, because if you waited that long, it's hard to say, but have there been people who've fallen through the cracks because of our timelines?
Chair O'Brien, I don't want to say that there hasn't been someone that's fallen through the cracks. I'm not aware of a client in which they provided that we contacted them, that we provided what they needed to do, here's what the next steps are, and that we weren't able to meet their needs. I know that there has been situations, though, in which we have been in communication with the client and we have not received the information in a timely manner, and that has worked against the tenant. And we take those cases just as much to heart as if someone fell through the cracks on what we would say our own regard, because that still means that how can we better improve the process and communicate to our clients and better support them.
Okay, and I heard you talk about that you're trying to, you're looking at all of the phone numbers and how do we better, I guess, make that a more efficient process potentially. What is the current process? Can I only call on Monday to get an appointment? Right, at one point, as I recall, you had to call on Monday, and once the appointments were gone, they're gone. But then, Tuesday through Friday, you don't take calls. So tell me about that process.
Thank you very much, Chair O'Brien. So the process looks very similar to what you just described. We have a set number of appointments. People must call on Monday. We reserve whether there's cancellations or a few number of appointments for those emergency criteria situations. So if someone walks into the Family Service Center or calls us Tuesday through Friday and has those issues, it's a domestic violence situation, the 24-hour notice, vulnerable human in the household, then if we do have one of those available appointments, we can put them in there at that time. This is an area that I know needs a lot of work done. It's not going to happen overnight. This process has been in place for many years, and so really taking a look at how we can better improve that people aren't just calling and calling over and over again. I see this in two ways. One, we have to do a better job at communicating proactively to the community on what services and what we have available. Because if they are over income to begin with, then I don't want them sitting on the phone. We're not going to be able to serve them. But there's other folks, and taking a look at what our prioritization is. So with that $4.5 million that we do have across our different fund sources, how we can make sure we are supporting those residents who have the highest needs and are most vulnerable to housing instability, whether that looks like through the rental assistance or through utility assistance.
And what is your time frame for, I guess, evaluating and reimagining reimagining this process to make it more efficient and effective for our citizens?
So thank you very much, Chair O'Brien, for that question. We are implementing, it's multiple strategies at once. And really taking a look at what we can do. So what are the low-hanging fruit? What's the mid-level? What's kind of the long-term? One of those long-term strategies I had shared is with our new client-facing system in partnership with ITS. But we are probably 18 months away from having that launched. But that doesn't mean in the meantime that we can't take a look at the process we have for our phone lines. What does that look like? How are people calling in? Are there things with telecom that we can do to help better support our residents? In addition, taking a look at our processes that we have and our eligibility and prioritization criteria, and I would expect that to happen and changes to be made within the next 3 to 6 months there.
All right, thank you very much for the presentation and information. I think we're making great strides. It's been a pleasure to work with Councilwoman Hodge Washington on this, and I know she's doing some additional work for us to look at in the future, but I look forward to being able to make this a more efficient and effective process, although these are good numbers. So thank you. Our next item is our, oh, sorry, no, I apologize. I have comments. I do this all the time. I have people here to talk. We have people here to talk to us about this. Evelyn Castillo, is she online? Okay, Evelyn,
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much, council members. My name is Evelyn, and I'm an organizer with Take Back Our Homes and Organize with Tenants here in Phoenix. Every week I'm in neighborhoods where people are being evicted again and again, and I hear the same thing. I didn't know I could get legal help until it was too late. The city's legal aid program is supposed to help, but it's not well known and it's not easy to access, as it was stated earlier by Hodge Washington and Ann O'Brien, and it's not meeting the scale of the crisis. People are being evicted without ever talking to a lawyer. And I've watched families lose their homes in minutes simply because they didn't know help was out there. Some will say the low numbers of users mean we don't need to invest more, but that's completely the opposite. If no one knows the program exists, of course the numbers are low. That's not a lack of demand. It's a failure of outreach and design. This program is the foundation, the prerequisite for building a true right to counsel in Phoenix. But we can't build that right now in a broken system. And so that is why we need action now. We're asking the city to dramatically expand and promote legal aid, increase capacity, and ensure tenants can connect with support quickly within 24 hours of an eviction notice. This work can't wait. These improvements need to happen before the summer is over because evictions aren't slowing down, and neither are we. So tenants need and want help. We hear it every day, and now it's on the city to deliver. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have John Escobar.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to address you this morning. And I'm here to speak in support of eviction legal services. And before I begin, I just wanted to thank the department for the excellent presentation. Even in the small number of cases that they've handled so far, having this assistance has done enormous good. It's saved the city resources in the courts, not to mention, the tenants, the landlords, the people who are directly affected by these situations. I myself am a licensed attorney. I'm also a public defender for the Gila River Indian community. Before I entered public service in private practice, I represented tenants in cases much like the ones that the department handles through the ELS program. Housing insecurity and these related issues disproportionately impact Native Americans, people in color generally. So it's wonderful to see the city beginning to address these issues that affect these communities. The Eviction Legal Services Program provides a valuable public resource, and I wanted to express my support for greater efforts to publicize and expand the program as it exists, And as the other commentators have mentioned, to hopefully eventually have a general right to counsel generally. As I'm sure everyone's aware, eviction court is a rather unique place. In eviction court, 94% of landlords have attorneys who represent them, whereas less than 1% of tenants have someone representing their interests. This great disparity in the right to counsel to representation shows a greater need to have the right to counsel for tenants generally. That's not just a nicety or something that's wonderful to have. It also saves the city money and resources. As the committee's heard today, professional advocates save court resources and oftentimes reach positive outcomes for everyone involved, all the stakeholders, tenants, landlords, and the courts, by negotiating resolutions without needing a hearing, without using judicial resources for that. The vast majority of a judge's time in eviction court is spent just determining the facts of what had happened. Having professional advocates on both sides, especially for the tenants, help everyone to gather the facts and to make sure that important laws regulating safe and adequate housing are being followed. And again, to resolve these very, these very intensive situations without needing to involve the courts, which is by itself a very expensive process.
Thank you so much for your comments. Our next speaker is Danielle Witcher.
Yes.
We can hear you.
Yes, hi.
Danielle, are you there?
Hello? Yes, can you hear
Please
me?
go ahead.
Yes, it's a pleasure to speak to you. My name is Danielle Witcher. I'm calling, speaking the legal aid card. I have tried to access, and I have not been able to access. It's just like the ball is being passed around. This is firsthand, I'm speaking on firsthand. I just called in yesterday. I sat on the phone for approximately 2 hours and then was hung up on. No one has contacted me back or anything. So something needs to be done more better to because it's hard to find. You call 211, you're being passed around. There's nothing on Google how to get in touch with different agencies that can help or whatever.
Ma'am, we'll have somebody reach out to you, okay? Are you there, Danielle? Did we lose her? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. We will have someone reach out to you. Okay? I think you're cutting in and out, Danielle, so we will have someone contact you and we will move on to our next speaker, Matthew Marquez. We don't have Matthew on. In person, we have Andrea Luna Cervantes.
Hi, good morning, Vice Mayor and Council members. My name's Andrea. I'm an organizer with Take Back Our Homes campaign. We appreciate the Human Services Department's presentation today and the great question from the council members. We also recently spoke with Human Services about the program, and we appreciate their openness to community feedback. Based on our feedback, we were pleased to hear today about the following improvements: Spanish language intake form, phone number to reach the program rather than only email, staff available to respond to emergencies, including on Saturdays. These are great improvements, but the reality is many tenants still face major barriers accessing help, especially in urgent situations. I would like to share a story with you of a member, Mrs. G, who was recently assisted. Mrs. G's request for assistance was part of those 55 cases that Councilwoman O'Brien was asking about, whose application was incomplete due to access issues. Mrs. G is a mother and an immigrant who fell behind on rent after being injured while at work. When she got an eviction notice, she didn't know where to turn. At that point, around May 14th, the online form was not available in Spanish. And furthermore, Mrs. G didn't have the computer literacy to complete the form on her own. So we helped her complete the multi-page online intake form for the Eviction Legal Services program. But the process was slow, confusing, and full of hurdles. Even though we helped her fill out the intake form a full week before her scheduled court date, she never got to connect to an attorney by the time the city was able to connect to her because she was unable to upload the required paperwork and was not informed of alternative means. And the Andor staff attorney at Organized Power and Number represented her in a contested eviction hearing, and I accompanied her to court virtually to make sure she had the support she needed. But if we hadn't helped her complete the online form, and if we hadn't followed up to connect with her, she was not going to have an attorney. She would have gone to court alone. The current program is hard to navigate, and many tenants give up or go unrepresented entirely. That's why we're asking the city to increase the accessibility and direct HSD to develop and present to council in September a plan to sustainably increase the number of tenants they intake and serve through the program.
Thank you for your comments. All right, our next speaker is Maisha Fish.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair O'Brien, subcommittee members. My name is Maisha Fish. I'm here with the Take Back Our Homes campaign and Organized Power in Numbers. I'm here to make you aware your eviction assistance and additionally community emergency program services are substandard in my experience and almost feel non-existent. I've been a longtime resident of Phoenix and have experienced homelessness and the eviction process. Due to financial hardships last year, I am currently behind on rent and facing possible eviction. I'm a woman with disabilities and have a hard time securing supplemental income. I proactively have applied to several emergency rental assistance agency programs, including what was offered by the city. I applied and completed the application questionnaire and on the City of Phoenix portal and completed the screening survey over a month ago. And no response, no phone call, no email. I do not pay a water bill, by the way. It's included in my rent. I wouldn't have known that that was the reason I haven't received contact had I not come here today. So where do I go now? And what happens to me if the eviction process begins? The programs need to be improved and accessible. We need to improve our legal services and implement effective RTC ordinance. People with limited income, with disabilities, veterans, elderly, single parents, etc. We need your help now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Can someone talk to her before she leaves? Thank you very much for your very important comments. Next, we have Sebastian De Portillo.
Hi, good morning, Council, and good morning, Jacqueline and everybody here from the city. So I'm here as part of Take Back Our Homes, and I think all the work that has been done so far to really take responsibility for supporting tenants in the city is great. It's fantastic, and we're seeing progress. And so I want to be thankful for the work that you've done so far. And, driving these efforts, Councilmember Hodge and O'Brien, you asked really, really good questions about this program. And so with that being said, my priority is still to our members and tenants and their experience. And, what I really want to drive home today is that low usage of the city's current ELSP program is not a sign of low need, it's a sign of poor promotion in a hard-to-access system. And I understand this may sound harsh, but it is the city's job and it is the city's burden. And what we need and what we should be striving to do is, working towards short-term goals and a plan so that when folks get an eviction in the city of Phoenix, they know that there's a program there for them, right? It's not something that they have to struggle to find, to go through a bunch of barriers to find, which is currently the experience of people. Like, this is an invisible program largely to the residents of Phoenix, and that's very unfortunate when we have a big pile of money there to support them right now. And so we're coming here giving feedback, and a lot of the folks that, the folks that just spoke are giving feedback to improve the program. We believe in the city. We believe in the capacity of the city to do a good job for its residents. But ultimately, we need to see a dramatic increase in the number of people being served. We need to reduce barriers to access, and we need to act quickly. One last thing I'll say is that for us, we believe in the right to counsel, and getting this program to the level of service is a prerequisite for doing that.
Thank you for your
effectively.
comments.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here today. Our next speaker is Pamela Bridge.
Good morning. I'm Pam Bridge. I'm the Director of Advocacy and Litigation from Community Legal Services, CLS. We are gratefully one of the 3 recipients of the legal services contract. We've been providing legal services to tenants in the city of Phoenix for free for 70 years. As of May, CLS has received 24 referrals as of May 1st from the city of Phoenix referral process. Of these cases, 15 we took on as limited or full representation, and out of that we were able to get the complaint dismissed in 9 cases. So in 60% of the cases that have been referred to us, we were able to get the complaint dismissed. I'd like to point out that while 24 cases were referred to us from the city from January to May 1st, CLS has opened 324 cases for tenants who live in the city of Phoenix who are at risk of an eviction, and these are outside of the referrals that came to us. These are cases in which the tenants called us directly that we are assisting for free using other funding. I'd like to introduce you to 2 of our attorneys that are here that work tirelessly for our tenants, Karen Wilson and Stan Silas. Stan Silas has been representing tenants for free in the city of Phoenix for 24 years. Recently, Karen had a case in which a single mom and 2 kids were being evicted. They had previously told their landlord about a rat infestation. And they gave proper notice to the landlord. Instead of fixing the problem, the landlord then gave them a notice of termination. Karen was able to inform the landlord that this was improper and then convince the landlord to move the family to a habitable unit. That family now has safe, habitable housing. Another case, the city referred to us. We were giving it the day before the eviction. Our attorney stopped the eviction the day of and was able to lower the rent. Again, it was for improper fees. Our attorneys, again, I'm just excited about the work they're doing, for the tireless work they're doing to help our tenants of Phoenix, and I'm happy to work with you in the future to make this program stronger and better.
Thank you, Pamela. And actually, don't go away yet because I have a question.
Sure.
So you just said that the city referred 24 cases, but that you only took 15, which means...
Oh, I'm sorry. I misspoke then.
Okay.
The city referred 24 until May 1st, but out of the 24, 15 were for limited or full representation. The other were for post-eviction services. So we were able... 15 of the cases that were referred to out of the 24, the tenant had not been evicted yet.
So what I hear you saying is you took all 24 cases that were referred to you, but 9 were for post-eviction assistance or services.
That's correct.
And then of the 15 that were pre-eviction cases, you were able to assist 15, or sorry, of those 15, 9 were completely dismissed.
That's right.
And then you have 6 that are either still in process or had a different outcome.
In the 6 that we were not able to get completely dismissed, in some of the cases that we had a judgment, and then we helped the tenant come up with the rent and then get the eviction vacated and sealed afterwards. But those 9 we were able to stop before the judgment. And some of that is because of timing. If the eviction was that day, we then work, it's considered limited or full rep, but we are working then with helping the tenant come up with the money and then either move out, but our goal is to get the eviction off their record.
Okay. And I appreciate that. My next question is then, how is the program working for you as a vendor? And from your perspective, do you have any recommendations for improvements?
I do. The program, how it's working for us is that we have a key person who's watching, because as we know, evictions are so short, that the time frames, and we try to get these cases sent to the attorney within the hour that we are emailed by the city. We have 4 attorneys currently who we are supplementing their funding with the City of Phoenix funding, who are watching for these cases. We're making sure we tell the City of Phoenix within the first 24 hours whether we're going to take the case or not. We then represent the case. We do what we can. If it, like I said, the example of the case, that's the very next day, we're looking for emergencies, so we're able to get our attorneys in there. Even within 24 hours, our attorneys are willing to run in there and do it. You know, I am concerned. There are a couple things. I think that we should include non-renewals. The city should consider that. That is something that landlords are doing. Also doing non-renewals, and they give notices of termination, and the tenants are getting evicted. Sometimes of those 324 calls that we're getting have been non-renewals that weren't able to access the city's process. I think that the 324 tenants that we represented January through May, again, is not a dent in the gigantic eviction process that we have in Phoenix, but it does show the need. We will take those cases. I'm not going to send them back to the city then to go through the referral process because the timing's too hard for those tenants. We need to get them assistance fast. That's what I think we all agree. And so I wish there was a way that we can speed up the process, even for the tenants who are not coming to us through the referral process, that they're coming to us directly. I wish there was a way that we could get the city's help assistance with those cases also.
Right. I think that a 24-hour turnaround on the city's part is not a terrible constraint to this process. However, what I think is that we are not communicating out to citizens enough that the program is available. I have jotted down a couple of ideas while y'all were talking. Like, could it be included in the contract they sign? When you buy a house, there are notices you sign and waivers you get to say about different things that happen when you buy a house. Could there not be a form that says, hey, by the way, if you run into trouble as a renter, here's a list of things, and you have to initial it as part of the contract? I don't like to create more government or process. However, there are things that I would like to talk about with our Realtors Association and some of our landlords about how do we get this information out? Because quite frankly, right, it seems to me logical that if we're helping folks stay in their homes, not only is it good for them, but in most cases, it's better for the landlord. And I hear what you're saying. I've taken down the include non-renewals on there.
And I do have one more on that too. I heard about the idea of talking to the landlords. I think especially that the City of Phoenix made sure that the landlords gave this, any landlord that is going to have Section 8 recipients and take any type of subsidized housing that's run through the City of Phoenix, City of Phoenix, that they be required to give that information to their tenants. That is something in the city's control that you could do to make sure that our most vulnerable tenants have that information.
And I likewise want to figure out how do we make sure that the tenants get the information. I just heard on the radio this morning about Attorney General Chris Mays talking about the air conditioning law and how do people know that, right? So I appreciate your testimony today. Thank you very much. And thank you both to our attorneys, Karen and Stan, for all the work you do in our city on behalf of our citizens. I appreciate you all. I'm sorry, yes, Councilwoman Hodge. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you again. Thank you for the testimony. I do have a follow-up question regarding the 324 cases. You mentioned, can you elaborate a little bit as to why those individuals are not, because we want to capture this information, because I truly agree that the demand is greater than what we're seeing in the documentation, but we can't capture it if it's not going through certain,
Right.
and I'm just trying to understand why is that not being done?
We are the 3 programs are only funded for and reporting work that is coming through the referral process. So we are getting, CLS is getting, we're out in the community and getting calls every single day. That's how tenants are also reaching us. And so if it doesn't come through the referral process, those tenants, they're not funded by the City of Phoenix, and we're not reporting them.
I understand
I'm
that.
happy to talk to you about that. I think you're right. That data is important data that will help you look at the general picture.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I will ask Director Edwards about that in a second, but
Sure.
I just wanted to understand if there was some hurdle that prohibited the referral of these individuals to the city so we can track this data. I know it may seem like adding an additional step, but I was just curious if you had anything you wanted to offer as to why.
And we do in all of our outreach talk about the City of Phoenix program too. It's not that we are hiding it from tenants. I'm just saying that when a tenant calls us or comes to our office and says, I'm being evicted tomorrow, we are moving forward and not making they've already done an online intake for us. We have other funding that can assist them for free, that we're not sending them back to the City of Phoenix.
And thank you for that clarification. So I think one of the reminders here is this is a system that the city is setting up that there's already some resources available in the community, and the city is trying to layer on top of these resources. So I just wanted to make sure there wasn't any barrier that prohibited them from being focused over here. So thank you again. Thank you. I've had the opportunity to work with you and Organize Power in Numbers and Stan and Karen on moving this initiative forward. So thank you for your service. As you know, this is a passion project for myself, because I do know when I talk about the sigh of relief when someone knows they have an attorney, they breathe easier when they're facing a very difficult time. So thank you, and thank you, Chair, for allowing me to ask my question.
Thank you, Councilmember Hodge Washington. We are so grateful for this program and your interest and your passion about these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniela Fernandez Lertzman is our last speaker on this topic.
Oops. All right, good afternoon, council members. A little bit short, so I'm trying to adjust it.
You can hold it if you want to. That makes it better for you. Okay, there you go.
All right. I'm Daniela Fernandez Lertzman. I'm an attorney at one of the providers for the City of Phoenix. I work at Barton Mendez Soto. Prior to this, we also have a contract with Pima County, where we also help tenants facing eviction. So we've been in this field for a few number of years, not quite as long as Community Legal Services, but we're one of the providers. And so of those 85 cases that have been accepted, we have taken on 26 of those. Of those, I've worked on about 6 to 8. The numbers get a bit messy because we also represent people in Pima County. But of those, I've handled mainly the post-eviction. And so I can kind of speak to some of those issues that people have brought up about, I guess, being aware of the program. A lot of people with post-eviction would have benefited from speaking with an attorney sooner. But I do think even in these post-eviction type cases that I've primarily dealt with, speaking to an attorney is very helpful. As you said, just having an attorney to answer any questions that you may have is big. Access to justice is very big. And I think it just really matters in allowing tenants to feel seen and heard in this process. Because I think I don't know how many people have seen eviction hearings, but they go by very quickly. And I think tenants oftentimes don't feel heard. And I think just even being able to speak to an attorney after the process allows them to feel maybe better heard in this process. So I think this is a great program, and the more we continue on, the more that we can better serve people. And I've seen that in Pima County, and I know that this program here will be likely just as successful.
Thank you for your comments. I would like to ask you the same question I asked our other provider. How do you feel like the program is working? And I mean, you've said it's good, but are there any improvements that you could give us or suggestions?
I think it's just the same thing that everyone else, excuse me, has brought up, which is just knowing about this program. This is a very new program. I can say that I think awareness of it has been growing as it's continued on in the months. We started in February. I think that month we maybe had like 5 referrals. They have been growing each month, and we're helping more and more people. I haven't really appeared in court, but I do know that through these referrals, we've been able to have 2 cases dismissed so far, and that's been major for those tenants.
Excellent. I appreciate your testimony. Are there any other questions for the speaker?
Can I ask one question?
Yes, ma'am.
I think I know what the terminology means, but I think we've been using it. But I don't know if anyone has really articulated what the post-eviction services consist of. Maybe you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I can explain. So what our post-eviction services offer is a tenant that has already had an eviction. So oftentimes when they come to us, this is past the 5-day deadline to appeal. So there's not much we can do with that, but they've kind of mentioned some of the work they do, which is where you work with them to see what money they have, if they have any money, and you put forward, like we usually try to negotiate with their landlord to get that eviction vacated so that's no longer on their record and is no longer affecting them. That's an area of the program that we're still kind of troubleshooting and figuring out the best way in which we can serve tenants. But so I guess that's kind of what post-eviction is.
So you're providing them services that will help them to move forward in the best manner, because obviously having an eviction on your record can negatively impact your ability to find future housing. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's why we focus on trying to get the judgments vacated. So once those are vacated, those should not be affecting the tenant's ability to get housing.
Wonderful. Well, I do appreciate your testimony today as well as you answering our questions and also the work on behalf of the citizens of Phoenix. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, council member.
That was our last speaker on item 7. So again, thank you for the work. I think we've heard loud and clear we need to work a little bit more on how we increase awareness, and so maybe we can talk about that more offline. But thank you, Jacqueline, for the presentation, and we look forward to the additional information. Oh, sorry, and Councilwoman Hodge-Washington has a follow-up.
Thank you so much, Chair. Same follow-up question I had with CLS. Is there anything that we can do, or maybe as part of our outreach plan, or we can figure out how we can incorporate being able to address, for example, the calls that they receive directly that would benefit, that are Phoenix residents? Maybe we can talk about how that looks, because I think capturing that data is helpful. They have another financial funding source, so that may not be directly needed, but I think capturing the data to show the need for this program may be helpful. I want us to consider whether or not, because one of my earlier questions was about the capacity of this program. The capacity for this program, as I understand it, is about 50 new cases each month. Given what we see to be the magnitude of the eviction crisis in our community, I question whether or not that is an adequate number of new cases being handled. Of course, for those 50 individuals on those 50 households, it will mean the world, but I really want to see if we can look into possibly increasing that. I also understand that there are budgetary restraints based on the budget that's available. So I don't know if this is the time for us to consider whether or not we need additional providers or maybe doing another call for qualified vendors. But I just want to make sure that we are considering what scaling this looks like. And I also think that we need to possibly look into what is maybe a better plan for coordinated outreach with some of our community partners. We hear the testimony and the public comment that was raised today that highlights this is a program that's needed, but many people don't know about it. And because the runway is so short, I'm using a lot of plain euphemism today, so apologies. When it comes to evictions, that lack of knowledge could mean the difference between staying housed and not staying housed. So really, I would ask us to look into that more closely. One of the questions I did have regarding, based on one of the questions that based on testimony we heard earlier, was when someone submits for the eviction legal assistance program, do they receive some level of a confirmation number, something that shows that their file has been completed, their inquiry, their questionnaire has been presented all the way through? Because sometimes I'll see individuals will not hit like the right submit, they don't realize they still have to upload. Do they get something at the end of the process? Because I didn't submit all the way because I didn't want to create a fake file, but I did go through all the process. But I don't know, do they get something at the end that they can say, this is your confirmation number, we've received it, you should receive a call back by any date? Do they get anything acknowledging receipt?
Councilwoman Hodge Washington, two things happens. One thing that happens since the beginning of the program, when someone submits the final button, the screen pops up to say, thank you for your submission, and this is the next steps in the process. A recent process improvement, though, is now all clients, when they do final submit it, whatever email address they put in, they are going to receive a copy of all of their responses. So that is, again, a secondary confirmation that, in fact, they have fully submitted their form to us. When we do have questions regarding if an application had been submitted or not, we go back and check and take a look in the system. And now we're able to tell clients, have you received something in your email? Of course, we can check on the back end, but we can confidently put that up there, both on our website, and communicate that out to the community that they will be receiving their own responses as well.
And if I could make a recommendation to that process, is when they get that email with their information, that it has some level of expectation of when they will receive a response, and maybe a number or email where they can follow up. Because if someone is facing losing their home, it is utterly urgent to them, and they really want to know how to check in. So that would be my recommendation. So some level of, hey, I should expect a phone call or an email by this date, and if I missed it, here's what I call back, who I call. So that's all I wanted to say. And is there anything that allows them, for example, if they are within, our ideal time is to get back to someone within 48 business hours, correct? Is there something that allows them to note in the system if they're eviction or their need is shorter than our time frame?
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, for that question. So in the number of questions we do ask, if they have any type of information regarding their eviction notice, timeframes, court date, whatnot, then that is highlighted in the form. And the process is for the staff to take a look at that first, so that we can ensure we are getting to those cases with highest priority, reviewing for eligibility, and referring those out to the providers as quickly as possible. So again, our process is 1 business day for us to review. However, it is at this point, it is shorter than a 1 business day time frame.
Okay. Well, again, I want to say thank you. I know this probably comes the process. Like I said, we're building this plane as we fly it, and we are trying to figure out all the areas of which continually improve it. So I thank you for your commitment and your work towards doing this. Phoenix is, as you probably know, we are leading the way in this. So we are in essence setting the standard. So I appreciate all of the diligence that you have done on this. I appreciate all of the data we have been tracking. I think that as we have seen, more we get out about this program, more individuals are learning about it, and we're able to make a more tangible difference. So just wanted to thank you for the continued partnership and working on this on behalf of the city and the residents of Phoenix. So thank you.
And before you get up, I understand our third provider is here, and so I'd like to hear from her as well. Robin Dugas is here, so if you would join us.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair O'Brien and subcommittee council members. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you here today. My name's Robin Dugas, and I'm an attorney at Cronus Law, and we were honored to have been chosen to be one of the eviction legal services providers for the city's ESL program this year. I'm the primary attorney providing the legal services at Cronus, although we do have a second landlord attorney who's been practicing landlord-tenant law for over 10 years. We have a dedicated landlord-tenant paralegal and a dedicated admin who interfaces with the city and with the TEEP clients to set up appointments and gather documents and assist me with the reporting. I don't want to restate what my colleagues have already shared regarding the services that we provide. We've had 18 referrals from the city since February 1st. 14 of them were non-payment of rent. And I would like to share just one story. This client didn't have the money, wasn't able to pay the money, but I was able to negotiate a significant reduction in the landlord's demand for funds. There were improper fees and failures to credit payments that had been made in the past, plus there was an offset credit for some damage that they were refusing to give her, even though they had agreed to it in the past. So even though she was evicted, we were able to mitigate that post-eviction financial burden. And then we negotiated a deal with the landlord that if she paid that judgment balance, they would vacate the judgment, dismiss the case, it would be sealed. And she was the recipient of a housing subsidy because she was in danger of losing if the eviction stayed on her record. So even a case that originally appears as non-payment of rent and almost feels hopeless, because of the ability to connect with a lawyer, these cases would just otherwise result in either a default judgment or a judgment for the landlord as requested without any defense, or mitigation. And so I think while this program is new, we are ramping up, like we had twice as many cases in April that we did in February. The need is really extreme. I know we've heard from our colleagues with Take Back Our Homes, but the Maricopa County Justice Court reported that in March of 2025, they had almost 6,000 evictions. And in February of this year, they had over 7,000. And so the majority of the tenants facing eviction, they're losing their homes, they're losing their apartments, they're completely, destabilized. And so, a program like this is vital to the community. I know we're addressing really complicated issues of homelessness and lack of affordable housing, but doing everything we can to reduce the number of evictions is critical to stabilizing our community. I know I'm speaking with my eviction legal service providers that we are committed to serving the tenant population, and we appreciate the city's leadership in this area. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony today, as well as for being a provider. It is much appreciated.
Thank you.
Any questions? All right. Thank you again for being here today. Thank you. All right. Mitch Menchaca, our Arts and Culture Director, and Carrie Brown, our Deputy Arts and Culture Director, will now present on item 9, which is our fiscal year 2025 through 30 public art plan. And this item is for discussion and possible action. And we have one speaker on this item.
Thank you, Chair O'Brien, members of the subcommittee. It's great to talk about public art again. We put together a 5-year CIP plan that has to come before this subcommittee. It has been approved by our Arts and Culture Commission, and ultimately we're asking for a recommendation to take the full plan to the full City Council for approval. And I will turn it over to Deputy Arts and Culture Director Carrie Brown to walk through it.
Good afternoon. Chair O'Brien and members of the subcommittee, I'm excited to be here today to share with you the highlights from our fiscal year 2025 through 2030 public art plan. As you know, City Council established the Percent for Art Ordinance in 1986, which requires 1% of capital improvement program funds to be invested in public art. Since its inception, the program has been a national model for involving artists in the design and building of a better city. We believe this year's plans continues that tradition with projects that enhance the look, feel, and function of public spaces. The municipal art collection has over 1,200 works of art, including over 250 site-specific public art projects commissioned through the Percent for Art Ordinance. The ordinance also requires our office to submit an annual 5-year plan, as Mitch just mentioned, which is what we are presenting to you here today. The public art projects included in the plan are prioritized based on opportunities to integrate artwork into individual CIP projects and their potential impact on the surrounding neighborhood. The plan focuses on the equitable distribution of funds as allowable by the ordinance and the diversification of the collection through broadening the types of opportunities and continued outreach to new artists and arts organizations. Of the 45 projects included in this plan, 3 are new projects, 8 address major retrofits or refurbishments, 7 support citywide initiatives like heat mitigation, and 3 are a component of long-range planning efforts like Rio Phoenix. The 5-year budget totals $24,406,654. The plan includes several continuing projects at Sky Harbor International Airport as part of the Terminal 3 expansion project. 6 artists have been selected to work with the design team to integrate terrazzo floors, sculptural elements, and multimedia experiences. 2 of those artist contracts have already been before you, and the remaining 4 will be presented at an upcoming City Council meeting. The total budget for public art projects at Sky Harbor is $4.5 million. Also included in the plan is Percent for Art funding from the Go Bond program. We continue to work closely with project managers and department leadership to determine the best opportunities for public art within each proposition. You can see here a list of projects we are currently working on, and we anticipate a call to artists to be released for a Go Bond pre-qualified roster in the next few weeks and having our first artist selected before the end of the calendar year. Total funding for public art as part of the Go Bond program is $3,761,464. The plan also includes multi-year initiatives like heat mitigation, collaborative neighborhood projects, and the temporary art program that align with some of the citywide initiatives found in the Tree and Shade Master Plan and the Climate Action Plan. Support for our Bloomberg Philanthropies Public Art Challenge project, Sombra Experiments in Shade, comes from the heat mitigation initiative outlined in the plan. As you may recall, Phoenix was one of 8 cities selected from over 150 applications for this unique grant opportunity that showcases the extraordinary solutions that arise when artists partner with civic leaders. 9 temporary shade structures providing respite from extreme heat will be installed in 9 city parks through September of this year. This one you see here, titled Botanical Canopy, is currently on display at Cortez Park. There are several projects included in the plan that are on track to be completed in the next fiscal year, including 3 shade structures along the 55th Avenue Promenade, North 32nd Street, which includes multiple components along the improved roadway, 100 West Washington, the new police headquarters downtown, which is currently being installed, and a sculptural addition to the Butterfly Garden at the new Levine Heritage Park. Sombra Experiments in Shade will also wrap up in the next fiscal year. Some of the projects that will be continuing beyond the next fiscal year include new artwork for the planned renovations at Deer Valley Airport, the 3rd Street pedestrian bridge over Rio Salado, and the various Go Bond projects I previously mentioned. The rendering you see here is for an integrated earthwork for the new Lone Mountain Park. The artists worked closely with the project team as well as a local community, including elementary students from a nearby school, to develop the design concept. And should the plan be approved, we will post it on our website for easy access for the public. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
I think I'm gonna ask our speaker to come address us now, Patrick McDaniel. Thank you for your patience.
Good afternoon, Chair O'Brien, members of the subcommittee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. I'm here today on behalf of the Phoenix Community Alliance Arts, Culture, and Public Life Committee to offer our support for the 2025 Public Art Plan and budget. Public art can be many things to many people. It could be a shade structure in a park. It could be a thought-provoking mural in a public building. It can be a mosaic in a skate park. As mentioned earlier, it can be a community celebration. However, what public art has in common is it creates a sense of purpose. It creates a sense of place. In a city that's 519 square miles, a sense of place is something that we're definitely looking for. A place and identity is something we definitely need today. Public art is a small investment that provides a return on a human scale and makes our daily experiences, commutes, and visits to public places that much more enjoyable. The 2025 Public Arts Project proposed here provides shade, highlights our shared cultural heritage, brightens senior centers, and retrofits existing installations. As the city expands and grows, we need to focus on the human element that makes public art so important. So we please ask today in the name of our Arts, Culture, and Public Life Committee to support this, support the 2025-2030 Public Art Plan, and to please help make Phoenix a place that's more human for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. Do my colleagues have any questions? I just have one. Mitch, so right now we have a process where a percent for our art is within public development. So our airport is going to get a lot of great art. Our water plants have it, fire stations. How do we get more art installations in our public right-of-ways?
Thank you, Chair O'Brien, members of the subcommittee. As Carrie mentioned, we have the percent for art ordinance that relates the funds to be at or near the capital improvement site that the funding comes from. So for North 32nd Street, that was related to the drought pipeline. So we were able to tap in to those funds to help develop that streetscape. So it becomes the opportunity of where there's capital improvement projects happening citywide. We are creative with some of our at or near pieces as we can with our public art plan. But we are and have been able to use public art funds for temporary projects, festivals and celebrations that we are tapping into next fiscal year, so that if there aren't the capital improvement opportunities there, that we can tap into the funds that are less restricted to be able to offer some sort of temporary project or community celebration in line with like our grants program.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for today's presentation. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the fiscal year 2025-2023 Public Art Plan.
And a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you for the presentation. Oh, sorry. She meant 2030. The motion is for 2025 to 2030, just for clarification. Okay, and we all got that. I just want to verify, I don't have anybody else on my list for public comment today. Is that correct? Okay, so if we have nobody else for public comment, any future agenda items? All right, I think we've worn everybody out. Then the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
So was respected among his, not only the peers within the Phoenix Fire Department, but across the valley. Because as you know, in the automatic aid system as command officers, as a shift commander, you're responding sometimes into other cities, and you're there as a senior advisor to those other command officers in other cities, and working collaboratively together, right, to make sure that, again, mitigate the situation, right, make sure our firefighters went home safely, make sure the community was protected. That was done.
He was a tremendous fireman, big, tough, strong guy, solid family man, a man of discipline,